Insurance isn't a one-size-fits-all, and shopping for it shouldn't feel like squeezing into something that just doesn't fit. That's why drivers have enjoyed Progressive's Name Your Price tool for years. With the Name Your Price tool, you tell them what you want to pay, and they show you options that fit your budget. Enough hunting for discounts, trying to calculate rates, and tinkering with coverages. Maybe you're picking out your very first policy. Or maybe you're just looking for something that works better for you and your family. Either way, they make it simple for you to see your options. No guesswork, no surprises. Ready to see how easy and fun shopping for car insurance can be? Visit Progressive.com and give the Name Your Price tool a try. Take the stress out of shopping and find coverage that fits your life on your terms. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
The Timeline is a Blue Wire podcast. Welcome to the Timeline of Phoenix Suns podcast. My name is Mike, back here with Sam. How you doing, Sam?
Hey, man, another day, another dollar. I'm doing all right.
All right. And, of course, as always, this time of year, back with our friend, our lawyer, Max. How you doing, Max?
I'm doing great. I'm excited for this conversation because this season went a lot differently than I think we expected, so it should be kind of funny.
It's a good one because although I think we had a pretty good idea of what the team was going to be like, I think nobody really predicted just what this season was going to be. But I want to start this one off by saying it is Sunday. We're recording approximately at noon. That means that the draft lottery is happening right now as we speak, and Max has it on in somewhere he could see. So I gave Max the directive to feel free to interrupt the podcast at any moment so we could react live to the draft lottery and know who's picking first, second, third overall. See who, if anyone, moved up, and I'm excited to find that out at some point in the next 20 minutes or so. So thank you for that, Max.
Yeah, no, it should be fun. We all excited to start groaning when OKC wins. So.
Yeah, exactly. So this season started off pretty well, really well. In fact, I think the whole section of the season without Jalen Green really went better than anticipated. The team sort of worked Jalen Green back into the rotation. He played like 36 games or something towards the end of the season. And then that, unfortunately for him, was sort of the stretch of the season where the team itself was not fully healthy, whether it be Dylan Brooks missing time or Devin Booker missed some time during that stretch. And the end of the season sort of petered out, and then they got swept in the playoffs. But they did make the playoffs, and they significantly won more than anticipated. So I guess the first place I want to start, Max, with you is just to ask you, how did you feel about this season now that we're like a week and a half, 2 weeks or whatever out of getting swept in the playoffs? How do you feel about the season as a whole?
Pretty positive. Overall, I think it was a success. Like you said, none of us thought they were going to make the playoffs. We'll get to whatever our over-under predictions were on wins. I think it was like 32.5 or something like that. I think we were all either under or slightly over. So the fact that they did what they did, very encouraging. Obviously, they got completely murdered by OKC, but that could be foreseen, especially with the health issues. And OKC is currently murdering the Lakers, so it's just a team that we didn't match up with. The real bummer was that we lost to Portland in the play-in game, because we wouldn't have beaten the Spurs, but we would have maybe had some competitive games possibly, which would have been fun. But overall, yeah, very good, very encouraging. The young guys were, I think, by and large, encouraging, especially towards the end of the year. So I think it's in the higher end of outcomes we could have expected.
That's right. Now, for those who don't know, what we're doing in this episode, we do this every year. Max comes on before the season, and I think that's important to note. Before we've seen any real competitive basketball played, and then we do a list of about 15 or so over-under that I mostly make up. Some of them are official over-unders set by FanDuel or whatever. And we just sort of talk about what we think the season is going to be through these questions that I ask. And then at the end of the season, now, we come back, we go over all of them, we figure out who won. We even have a section where people sort of voted on what they think is going to happen, and we're going to figure out which one of us won. And we win, of course, nothing every year. The pride of winning, I guess, is what we're going to talk about here.
This is Max's 7th or 8th straight year of doing this for free and not winning anything, even if he wins.
And Max used to have a podcast too, and now he's just doing it out of the grace of his heart here for us.
I'm the cheapest lawyer around.
That's right. So, yes, we I think it's the 7th. I was trying to figure it out. I think it's the 7th. I don't think we did it the first year. We've done 8 seasons, and I think the second year and on, we've done it on this podcast. So that's a lot. The first player we talked about was Mark Williams, who, of course, did not finish the season, played like 55 games, the most he's ever played in a season this year for the Suns. And we talked about his points and his rebounds per game. And this is a great example, I think, of how unpredictable this season was, because I set the line at his points per game at 15, and the line at his rebounds per game at 10. This was pretty solely based on his time in Charlotte, which of course he played with LaMelo Ball, which probably should have been a larger factor in the way we predicted these specific numbers. For points per game, I went under, you two went over, the people went under.
Wow.
For rebounds per game, which was set at 10, all three of us actually everyone went over, including the people. And he averaged 11.7 points per game, which is under, and 8 rebounds per game, which is also under. And I think this is interesting. First of all, he played a lot of games for him, not a lot overall, but still went under. And I think part of that was that Oso Ighodaro became like an actual kind of effective NBA player and actually took a lot of the minutes from Mark Williams. And maybe he was on some sort of, we don't want to play him too much minutes thing overall, because he did play less than he's played in the past, in order to keep him healthy. But what do you think about Mark Williams, Max, and his time this season?
Yeah, bizarre. First kind of a tale of two seasons. I mean, the first half of the season, I think he was like one of the VORP leaders of the team and things like that. Like, he was really important, and it looked like Suns may have gotten something. And then, obviously second half, even aside from the injury, he wasn't playing very well when he was playing. And to your point, Ighodaro sort of started out playing him a little bit, which was concerning. And it's really left us in this very bizarre, I'm sure you guys will spend a lot of time talking about it, but restricted free agency situation with him, which it's really hard to predict how it's going to go. Probably he'll just languish all summer in that spot, because usually what happens with restricted free agents like him. But yeah, bizarre season. I don't know. What do you think, Sam?
Yeah, so Max and I both went over on points. Is that what you said, Mike?
That's right.
Yeah, so, I mean, he averaged 15.3 his last year in Charlotte. For him to hit 11.7 this year, that's far under the target that we kind of missed there. And it's for two reasons. One, because you touched on this, Mike, he played less. He's a starting center, and I love the fact that, he started 55 games for us. But a starting center who plays under 24 minutes a game, he played less than half of a game, even though he was a starting center. So that's the big one. But then even on like the per 36-minute basis, if you take the amount of playing time out of it, there was also the usage aspect of it. Like, Mark Williams came in, and I don't know if maybe this is what we should have been expecting, but ultimately the amount of shots he was taking per minute went down from when he was with Charlotte, right? I think part of that makes sense because this team does not have lob passers. And we've kind of talked about all along they don't have lob passers. But really throughout the season, too, it kind of surprised me the extent to which it felt like Mark was being ignored a little bit offensively. I think he did something that I really liked about Mark Williams all season long. I think he's a really good finisher in transition. I think compared to some of the big men the Suns have had in the past, he really tries hard to sprint down the floor off of defensive stops, keep his hands up, and off of some of those plays, like, they would reward him. But if he was just the guy in the middle of the floor in the short roll or whatever, in any half-court possession, he just probably wasn't getting the ball all season long. And so, I guess it's not too surprising that he only finished averaging 11.7 points per game, but yeah, definitely far under what I thought at the beginning of the season.
If you really just look at the highest usage players on the Suns, it's some combination of Devin Booker, Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks. And Devin Booker is the only player that passes of those three guys. So really, I think if we're trying to learn a lesson, like for how we're going to talk about this team on our next Over Under podcast in a few months to predict the next season, we should probably factor that in if those are going to be the highest usage guys on this team next year, because maybe there's some growth that could occur with Jalen Green. He's 5 seasons in now. As far as his passing, he actually, we'll talk about it later. But Dillon Brooks doesn't seem like a guy who's going to learn to do that anytime soon. He's never done it in his career, and truthfully, his scoring became really effective. So in some ways, you kind of want him to do that if that's what he's going to be doing next year. But yeah, if those are going to be the 3 main guys and they don't have anyone else who can pass, it's going to be a struggle for any big to score who can't create their own shot or shoot. Devin Booker, great at creating 3-point shots, not as good at creating shots at the rim, but still by far the best player on the team at creating shots at the rim for anyone else. So I guess in some ways it's no surprise he hit the under on points. Well, I did say under, but I didn't expect it would be that much under. I thought it was just going to be like 14 points per game. But
I think what's interesting, though, is if you had told us ahead of time that Mark Williams is going to be available this season and he's going to average 12 and 8, it sounds disappointing. But I don't know. Like, were you guys disappointed with his, beyond the availability aspect, Max? Like, were you disappointed with what Mark was able to contribute when he was on the floor? I know it doesn't feel like he's deserving of like a long-term 4-year contract or anything right now, but like, how do you feel about when he was actually on the court?
Yeah, again, it's kind of hard to say because it kind of depends on when in the season you're asking me about it. I think the first half of the season he was really good. And kind of a revelation. I remember tweeting something like, the Suns haven't had a big like this in a long time. Super athletic, active. It was really great. And then the second half of the season, even beyond the injury, I just thought he wasn't the same guy. Which that always makes it difficult when you're making decisions, right? Which to take seriously. I think I overall encouraged just because he showed it for a little while, and he has a track record of being good when he's healthy. So overall, pretty high on him overall. But I just don't know what they're going to do with him long term, though.
Yeah, I think the thing, and this is tough because it's not his fault at all, but the thing that just keeps coming back in my head is that they traded 2 firsts for him. And were they good firsts? No, they weren't great first-round picks, but like, I would be desperate to have those right now for the Suns to be able to pick 2 young players for this team to try to build something. And if they don't keep him, which is a possibility, it's even possible they just let him walk so that they could re-sign the guys they do want to keep, and maybe they do play Malawach 20 minutes a game next year and Oso Ighodaro is the starter or something, which, I know how people are going to feel about that if that does happen. But if they do let him walk, that's tough. And if they overpay him, also tough. It's really a tough position for the Suns to be in this
What do you
summer.
consider an overpay for Mark?
He's a lower-end starting center, and maybe he's not a starting center level player. So to pay him anywhere 20 or more...
Oh, 20 or more would be crazy. Yeah.
Feels like too much.
I agree with that. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking my hope
That's
would be...
what starting centers make.
Not all of them.
But kind of the point to Sam, he's not really a starting center, though, right? Like, he started, but he didn't play the minutes. And then they have Malawach coming, so I do think it'd be kind of odd to give him starting money.
Yeah,
I think 10 to 15 is where, I'd generally be hoping the offer sheet lands. And beyond that, some people have floated the idea of, why don't you just like try and get something for him in a sign and trade? That's possible. I would remind people, though, that like with sign and trades, it becomes complicated because first of all, someone without cap space has to kind of want him pretty badly, to the point that they'd be willing to trade something for him. Then you've got all of the financial rules. Remember the base year compensation stuff that we talked about a lot a few years ago with DeAndre Ayton. Like, if someone signs Mark to an offer sheet of, say, $18 million a year or something, right, and you want to sign and trade him, you don't get back a player that makes $18 million a year. You get back a player that makes under 10, right? I don't remember exactly what the base year compensation percentage is, but you'd be getting like some role player that's not really worth Mark Williams in terms of like a vacuum, right? So I don't know. I think trying to hold on to him in the short term so that he can continue to be this sort of bridge between the Mark Williams era and the Malawach era makes the most sense to me. But I certainly understand, like, if there are some people in the fan base who are just like, we want as much Kaman Malawach as possible as soon as next year.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Any update on the lottery, Max?
With the top four, we're just found. We don't know the order yet, but it's Washington, Utah, Memphis, and Chicago. So
Okay.
none of the crazy ones. It's all
Thank
pretty-
fuck.
yeah.
Okay, no
Okay.
OKC, no Golden
Golden
State.
State.
Those were the two that,
Yeah.
I was really thinking they were going to go Golden State number one to give Steph one last chance. I was thinking that was
Yeah, probably
this
the
year.
biggest news I would say is that the Clippers got the Pacers pick because the Pacers fell out of the top four.
Yeah,
Clippers number 5.
that sucks for the Pacers. And Chicago actually, I think, moved up too, right? That,
Yeah,
in that
Chicago's
same-
the biggest move up.
Yeah,
Chicago
Okay.
rewarded for mediocrity. Okay, all
Over
right.
and over again. Why not us? No, I'm just kidding. Who do we want to win out of those guys? Real quick before we get there.
I think Chicago. First
think-
of all, the East, and it'd be kind of fun. Big market.
Chicago or Washington? Yeah, it feels
Yeah,
like
Washington.
the right. Yeah, just get them over there, and yeah, Memphis is. I don't know, Memphis. Even if maybe they just fully be bad for a while, if Adam Silver allows it next year.
Yeah, I
I
don't
think
really
Utah
want.
could be actually pretty good if they got the number 1 pick.
Yeah,
It's
they have
true.
an interesting team, and they
Sure they could.
they can be like do sort of talent that's in their prime plus young guys that are growing, and that's kind of interesting. Ace
I mean,
Bailey surprisingly good this year.
Yeah.
Washington could be pretty good, man. Like Alex Sarr is already
too.
pretty good if they add DeBonsa, whatever you. How do you pronounce his name?
I think that's right.
Bonsa's
DeBanza,
right. Yeah, you got
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not a college guy, but if they add DeBonsa to it, it's like okay, that's a fun with Trey and whatever. It's a fun core.
Yeah.
Colin Gillespie, minutes per game. Funny one that we had for him. 17.5. Max, you went under, and the rest of us went over. And to be fair to Max, this was before Jalen Green was injured, so we didn't know Jalen Green was going to miss a ton of time. So Colin Gillespie went way over, played 28.5 minutes per game, and started most of the season, and had sort of... I mean, he was in the running for like most improved player. He had one of the most surprising seasons of any player, I think, in the NBA, and was sort of one of those blog boy players that if people talked about the Suns without watching a ton of them, they were the first thing that they wanted to talk about was Colin Gillespie, just because of how surprising his season was as one of the best shooters in the NBA for most of the season. Yeah, the rest of us went over, Sam, you and I, and the people also went over. What did you think of Colin Gillespie's season, Max?
Incredible. I got to say, that's been my biggest regret. I thought about that podcast that I said on there because I think Sam asked me, like, hey, what do you think about Gillespie? And I was like, I just don't know. I'm always wary of guys who shine in April and March in NBA seasons because no one's trying at that point. But, I mean, clearly, he was awesome. I think one of the highest approval ratings among any Suns player, I would imagine, this season. Just awesome. One thing I was actually kind of happy about was that there was a while there, like around the Portland game when he had like whatever it was, like 1,000,000 threes, when I was like, crap, is this guy going to outplay or play himself out of a contract the Suns can sign? I think he calmed down a little bit, which was good because I really think he's the kind of guy that we want to lock up as long as possible. He seems like somebody who will improve and keep improving. So yeah, big fan.
It sort of is the weirdest silver lining of this really good season, right, Max? That there was a version of this season where they play really well, but Colin Gillespie and Mark Williams combined were going to command $40 million on their next contracts, and that's just not true anymore, which in a weird way is kind of good for us if we're trying to retain those guys. So, I don't think there was any shame in thinking, as I think all of us sort of thought, that Colin was a really fun, scrappy player at the end of last season who definitely was going to help you win some games, but not that he was going to be a 28-minute per game, mostly starting player. So, he really sort of exploded even beyond our expectations this year. Even though Mike and I both got this one right, like I was probably expecting him to be an 18 to 20 minute per game seventh man and not to start as many games as he did. And certainly not to, hit as many threes as he did and literally set franchise records.
Yeah. I should have put over-under podcast appearances for him at 0.5 because we did get him on the podcast this year. And look, it is one of those guys where, like, I think in a lot of ways the struggles the Suns had towards the end of the season were because of just how much they were relying on his offense through the season, and that sort of going away for the Suns had a larger impact, I think, than people realized. And some people look at the line of when Jalen Green came back as when Colin Gillespie started to struggle a little bit, and maybe there is a little bit of something there, but I don't really think so. I don't think his role changed that much. He still played quite a few minutes, and sometimes with him, and still got a lot of shots up. He just stopped sort of making them. He can't score like anywhere except the 3-point line and then the occasional pull-up jumper.
Occasional pull-up mid-range jumper. But I think the funny thing is his percentage. I don't have it off the top of my head, but I'd be willing to bet that 15-foot mid-range jumper, he shoots as well as a layup in terms of percentage.
Yeah, probably because he shoots a layup
at like 40%.
Oh, yeah. We just got, I'm sorry. I'm interrupting the podcast to do this. Yeah. But Shams Charania just tweeted, so now I got it. The top four order in the 2026 NBA draft. Number 1, the Washington Wizards.
Okay.
Shout out the podcast house, huh?
Yeah, shout out former guest Joe House, one of the, I think, the all-time great podcast guests. Not for us, just in general. He's just very good at it. Number 2, the Utah Jazz. Number 3, the Memphis Grizzlies. Number 4, the Chicago Bulls, which is honestly the funniest place for the Chicago Bulls to end up.
Of course.
Where was Patrick Williams drafted? Was he fourth?
Number 4.
I think he was fourth. Yeah.
Sure.
Perfect. Okay.
Shout out Joe House. Like that's awesome for him. And the Washington Wizards could be a fun team next year. Whether or not they keep Anthony Davis is going to be an interesting thing for that team.
Yes, it will.
Of course.
The other fun thing in this, I don't know. I know, Sam, you said you don't watch college basketball. I don't know about you, Mike, but Darren Peterson, who's supposed to go number 2, he's like mercurial, and there's a lot of questions about like attitude and things like that. So the fact that he's probably going to go to Utah is interesting.
Because that was the Ace Bailey thing too.
Yeah.
Hey, maybe they'll be. I don't know. Misery loves company. No,
True.
Maybe they'll have fun together.
And okay, so in that theoretical scenario, Max, if you, I don't know how well you know, like how locked in does the top 3 feel?
The top 3 are pretty. I say the top 4 are like obvious.
Okay, so are we saying Cam Boozer then goes to Memphis?
Yeah, I
in this
think
scenario?
so. Most likely, yeah.
They got their JJJ replacement right there, huh?
And then Caleb Wilson's the 4th guy.
There's Zach Randolph
like Giannis Light. So yeah, it's a really good top 4 for sure.
Big thanks to our sponsor, BetterHelp, for partnering with us for this important conversation about mental health.
This is Steve Smith here, former NFL wide receiver and host of the 89 Show on YouTube. So having a counselor and working with BetterHelp, that gives you an opportunity to really start to unpack. But people don't understand, when you unpack things, you also open up a box that you're not always sure what's inside. So I think that's why seeing a professional is extremely important. If you need someone to open up to, visit BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com/89 to get started.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
If you care about coffee and how it's made, check out Alchemy Roast. They roast in small batches and source their beans responsibly, focusing on flavor instead of mass production. The result is coffee that's balanced, well-developed, and easy to drink, whether you brew at home every day or just want something better than grocery store coffee. You can order online at alchemyroaster.com, and if you use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout, you'll get 10% off your order. Go now to alchemyroaster.com, my favorite coffee, and use the promo code TIMELINE at checkout. Get 10% off, support a local Phoenix business, and get the best coffee you can buy.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along.
Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Another thing on Colin Gillespie before we move on here. Dwayne, on his in one of his columns, said 4 years, $40 million is a potential contract for Colin Gillespie. How do you guys feel about that? What do you think, Max?
Excellent. I think that's really. I think with the maximum we can pay him is 14 per year or something like that. Is that right?
Right.
Something around there. Yeah.
I would go all the way up to that. Again, I think he's the kind of guy who's going to keep improving and just get better and better. So I think we're going to get a steal almost regardless. But yeah, 4 for 40 sounds great.
That was sort of going to be to answer your question, Mike. That would be a perfect contract in my opinion. But I was going to ask you, Max, like, what you think the next step is for Colin, or are we kind of, because this is a guy who's almost 27 years old now, kind of came out of nowhere with the G League and being a two-way guy and whatever, but like, should we expect him to get even better, or is there a higher ceiling, or should we just be happy that, he's even this good?
First of all, I think we should be happy if he's even this good, especially if it's 4 for 40. He justifies 4 for 40 if he plays like this for the whole contract. But the reason why I think he could get better, obviously, it's not like an athletic thing. It's more just he hasn't played a whole lot of NBA minutes in his career so far. Like, this is his first season really playing a lot. So I just, I hope and expect he'll kind of figure out the game a little bit more and just, figure out his spots and things like that. And because the biggest thing he needs to improve, I think, is just overall being a point guard, game management, controlling things. And I see that in him. I think he's shown flashes of it. He's just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, we definitely said a bunch towards the second half of the season that like it felt like he was hitting the rookie wall, because the number of games that he had played in the past, even though it wasn't his rookie season, was more similar to like an NCAA season. And so if he comes in with better conditioning next year and just has a better February, March, April, assuming he stays healthy, then his averages are going to go up a little bit, even though you're right, Max. He's not going to get better athletically. I don't think he's ever going to be a good finisher. Like there are probably Suns fans that are like, he could be Steve Nash or whatever, right? And, I don't think he can ever be that level of just, able to shoot efficiently from every spot on the floor. But I don't know. There's like some Fred VanVleet to Colin Gillespie's game, right? Like in terms of athletically limited point guards who just learn to be really good game managers and maybe never finish well inside of the arc, but are just starting caliber players. That's still a possibility for his future, I think.
Yeah, and just launch from 3, 8, 9. If you're starting like 8 or 9 attempts a game or something, just really let it fly. And I think, we're going to get to Jalen Green later, but if there's a possibility of trading Jalen Green for a player who is taller than 6'5" or something like that, there is the possibility of just slotting Colin Gillespie into that starting role. And then you have him there. Yes, he's undersized, but he did it most of the season, and the Suns are pretty good. And if they have some ability to create shots at another position outside of him, I think they could be even better. So that 440 I think feels right. So I saw some people online concerned about the length of that contract. I'm not. I know he's only done it one season, but like that's how you lock a guy up when they play this well and they're a little bit under the radar. You got to do it. I wish they had signed him. We talked about it before. I wish they had signed him to multiple years last offseason, just as an opportunity to lock him up for even less. But I'm glad he's going to get a payday for his own personal future.
You got to take risks like that sometimes. That's how you get the Denny Avdia bump, where suddenly a guy's averaging 25 points per game and he's making $11 million, right? That probably is not going to happen to Colin Gillespie, but you don't know if you never try.
Yeah, that's right. Let's talk about another young guy, Kaman Malawach, who played this season, and not much though, and we're going to talk about that. We had 2 over-unders for him, and they were 3-point percentage, which is funny in hindsight now, 30.8. I set that at Embiid's first year, the percentage Embiid got in his first year in the NBA, his rookie year. And total games played, which I set at 60. For 3-point percentage, he shot 23.8%, but he only took 21 threes on the season. He was 5 for 21 on the season, so it's hard to even look at that. But technically he went under, which Sam, you chose under. The people chose under. Max, you and I chose over, and I remember that conversation. It's not like we were confident he was going to shoot better than that, but we thought maybe he'd shoot 31% or something, and if he just made 2 more or whatever, he would have been there, but he didn't. And then games played, he played 46, so he went under. Sam, you're the only one who went over, so the rest of us got that one right. Kaman Malawach, and this is part of the complication of talking about Mark Williams' contract this year, is trying to figure out how much time they should dedicate to Kaman Malawach next year. Max, what did you think of the 10th overall pick in his season for the Suns this year?
Got a little more encouraging towards the end. Obviously, when he first started playing, it was like, oh my God, this guy literally cannot be out there.
I was down bad. I was down bad at the beginning of the season, Max. Yeah.
It was rough. But he started to show a little bit of something towards the end of the season. And the biggest thing with him is just that he's gigantic, right? Like his size really pops when you're watching the game. Like when him and Fleming are out there together, it's legitimately imposing. I mean, they both are rookies with chickens with their heads cut off, don't know what they're doing yet. But you can see kind of what the future is with that. Overall promising. I do like also how he looks like he'll be able to shoot free throws. That's a nice perk from a big.
And unafraid to get fouled too. It's not even just that he's shooting; he's like going into guys to finish. Yeah.
Yeah, I recall we had a highly picked center in the past who was a little more afraid of getting fouled.
Yeah, he's doing it a lot in the playoffs right now. He really got killed in that last game by the announcers, man.
Yeah, it's rough. But Malawach, encouraging. And I think to answer your question, I think they should dedicate a lot of time to him now. I think he showed enough where he's sort of kind of the future.
So are you thinking like a guaranteed 20 minutes a game for him next year?
Yeah, I mean, I hesitate to say guaranteed because if he comes out next season looking like he did at the beginning of last season, then you can't really play him 20 minutes a game. But as long as he's showing he's playable, I would play him.
See, that to me feels like you need to give like Mark Williams, hey, take this $10 million a year contract or you can leave. Because if we're gonna, and Oso's good and his earned minutes and is a backup center is good, and we're gonna guarantee come on 20 minutes a game, then what are we doing with Mark Williams is the question. But yeah.
Well, at that point, you need to have a third center on the roster, right? Just as injury insurance. But yeah, to your guy's point, it kind of feels like Mark Williams probably can't be that third center. You're talking about probably someone, I don't know, who's more of like a veteran who can kind of just like eat some minutes.
Yeah,
it's
by
difficult.
The way, to people listening,
I go back and forth.
Sign and trades don't get you anything. So if you're making a sign and trade, just assume you're getting a second round pick or something.
They might be able to get like a role player who makes $5 million who's not good.
A player that's equal to a second round pick. Yeah,
sure.
You know what I mean? Like it's not going to be anything great if you're going to do a sign and trade, especially now that the sign and trades cap teams at the apron, and it's even more complicated to do sign and trades than ever before. They wouldn't cap us at the apron. They would cap the team that gets Mark Williams at the apron. So it's just a little more complicated. But go ahead, Sam.
What question am I answering? Did I like Malawach's season?
I mean, just your overall thoughts. I interrupted you, so
no, you're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the rim protection numbers beyond even just blocks. Like we know he can get blocks, but the rim protection numbers were so good, and I know a lot of that was against poor competition, teams that weren't trying, or garbage time minutes, or all that. But the defensive rating, shot is it shot up or shot down? I guess the defensive rating shot
got
down.
better. It got better.
It got better when Malawach was on the floor consistently. I'm still a little nervous about just going into next season because my expectation for next season now, we've talked about this, Phoenix is hosting the All-Star game, Devin Booker is still on the roster. As long as those things are all true, I want to get better. I want to win more than 45 games, and I'm a little nervous about coming out the gate being like Malawach is going to play 18, 20 minutes a night and being able to achieve that goal. I still am. But, he can't have the same role that he just did, right? He can't be a 10-minute-a-game third-string guy consistently. So I go back and forth with this all the time. I still think his ceiling is sky high. I really do believe in his ability, like Max said, to make free throws, to create for himself. I just don't know what to expect out of him in year 2. I don't know what's realistic yet.
Mm-hmm. I'm excited. Like I said, the season started for me and I was like, oh no, this guy can't do anything. Like you can't trust him with the ball even for a second. It immediately turns into a turnover. And then, even on offense, he was getting so many offensive fouls on screens, and defensively his feet were slow. And look, I give the Suns a lot of credit for what they did. They sent him to the G League. They clearly worked with him in practices and pregame, stuff like that. And then when he entered the season, second half of the season when Mark Williams was missing time, it's a small victory here, but he did not look like someone who had zero idea what he was doing out there, and that's a step in the right direction because one time at the beginning of the season, I remember after we drafted him, someone told me, sell me on the idea of Kaman Malawach without mentioning his size. Mm-hmm. And it's like, you can't. You can't.
He started playing basketball 18 days ago. Yeah. He has so little experience. Look,
there's just not a lot of skill there. There is some. Don't get me wrong,
but the final
his
season
size
stats.
Is the thing. Yeah.
Let's just say, his final season stats. So this includes the first few months of the season where he looked like a chicken with his head cut off. Per 36 minutes, averaged 2.2 turnovers and 3.8 fouls per 36 in a rookie season for a 19-year-old big. I would argue is actually pretty encouraging, given where he came from. 2 turnovers and 4 fouls-ish per 36. That is not a guy who just goes out there and you can't even trust to set a screen without it being a moving screen, and just every time he touches the ball in the middle of the floor, it's a turnover. That is what he looked like in October and November, but that version of what Malawach was, completely absent when he played post-All-Star break.
The block rate is crazy. I think it's fair that if he's going to have a huge role in the Suns, I think it's actually fair to lower the overall ceiling on the Suns for next year. But at least we'd have a better idea of what he could look like. And look, there still is a chance that they trade him, but I really don't get the impression. I'm saying if the Suns are looking for a star this offseason, which I don't know that they are, I did not get the impression from the exit interviews that they considered this season a failure at all. They were doing victory laps in that postseason exit interview thing. And I just don't get the impression that they're going to do that. But there's a chance that they do that. But if they do keep him and they do play him a lot, I think for half the season or so, he might make the Suns just worse when he's out there. But over time, hopefully that will get better, and then he could become a positive by the end of the season. He's still very young. He doesn't have a ton of experience. And the good news is Oso Ighodaro has been good, and we'll get to see what he looks like next year. But the size really is the type of thing where he steps on the court, and it's just so obvious that he's out there in a way that the Suns have never had a guy where the moment they step onto the court, you're just like, damn, that guy's huge. And it feels that way when he's out there. So
and even when he was on the court against OKC in the playoffs, obviously he couldn't do anything with OKC, but you're just all right, that guy, we need to have somebody like that out there. He wasn't ready, but you cannot compete against the best teams without somebody like him. So I think that I definitely warmed up to the pick quite a bit. I think that, I see the vision with him.
Yeah, that's right. Ryan Dunn.
Oof.
It's a really funny one. Ryan Dunn, 3-point percentage. We set the number at 33. He shot 33.1.
Whoa! Holy shit.
So he did technically go over. Everyone went over.
Wow.
So that all three of us plus the people went over. So
we just really needed something
to
believe in out of the second year guys, I think, there.
Yeah, that's right. And he, his season, was interesting. I actually thought the times he was on the court, his defense looked better than it did last year, and that's the thing I really cared about the most. I think you could make the case his offense looked worse, but he did shoot better, technically, from the three-point line than he did in the previous year. He improved as a three-point shooter, but just never really fully had the trust of Jordan Ott this season. His second year, he could improve a lot. Next year, he could come out and be a lot better and get a lot more minutes. But, I mean, he had DNPs. He never had any sort of guaranteed role in the season. And I think a lot of people were really high on him coming into last season. And maybe people forget that that's how they felt. But a lot of people felt that way. And I would say that based on those expectations, just based on those expectations alone, he underperformed. But I don't know. How do you feel about his season, Max?
I would agree with underperformed. I think the issue with him is, he shot 33% from three. That's not terrible. But he doesn't do anything else offensively. And he didn't get any better at anything offensively. Like, that was really the problem with him, is he doesn't see the floor or kind of see the game on offense at all. And if he's not going to be able to do anything, he's going to have to shoot a lot better from three than that, or be like completely locked down on defense. And he's just not quite there. And then the other thing that really hurt him was, towards the end of the season, Rasheer Fleming was just obviously better than him and more impactful. And he's kind of a similar role, although he's bigger and is better at kind of that role. So it's a tough comparison for him. I wouldn't totally give up on Ryan Dunn by any means, but you didn't really see the improvement that you were hoping for.
Brian's in a really awkward spot, in my opinion, because I actually think he's proven enough at this point to say that, like, he is an NBA player, right? Like, net rating goes up when he's on the floor.
Yeah, the Suns were pretty good with him playing this year. That's a kind of interesting stat.
Right. Yeah. Defense looks pretty good. Max was saying he doesn't do anything else on offense, and that is largely true. But like everyone else under Jordan Ott's system, he crashed the offensive glass pretty hard, and I do think he's getting better at that. He needs to do way more in order to be like a valuable asset on a good or consistently great team. But he does things, and like, I'm pretty confident in his ability to just stick around the NBA longer than your average 29th overall pick. It's just not necessarily in a starting role, which is what kind of like we were hoping for and envisioning. And I kind of feel like, the ceiling might be a little bit lower with Ryan now. It's never a good sign when you play fewer total minutes in your sophomore season than your rookie season, and not due to injury, right? Just due to kind of other guys jumping you on the depth chart. So if he comes out next year and he hasn't made any other improvements offensively, but next year is the year where suddenly he's shooting 40% from deep, and just like total dead-eye shooter from the corners, then maybe this is a different conversation, right? His defense is good, but it's never been what was advertised out of Ryan, which is, just a cut above as a defensive prospect coming out of college. So I don't know. Kind of my expectation for him at this point is that I like Ryan. I think he's going to continue to be a capable role player, but not a starting level player. And we'll see if he can prove us wrong at this point. He has 2 more years to do it on his rookie contract.
One funny stat for you, Max, that I mentioned on our last episode, Patreon episode, I believe. Ryan Dunn had more total assists on the season than Dylan Brooks.
That's crazy.
Oh my God.
That's crazy.
That is Dylan. Someone's got to show Dylan that stat for next year.
Ryan Dunn barely played, often missed games entirely, and when he did play, he would play like 8-minute stretches, 4 minutes in the first half, 4 minutes in the second half, and then somehow still finished with more assists, almost entirely accidentally. Because he doesn't make any reads. He's just kind of being like, oh, shit, I have the ball. I have to get rid of it. And then if someone scores, he gets an assist. But still, more than Dylan Brooks. Really surprising on the season. Here's a fun one. Oso Ighodaro.
I've been waiting for this one.
Total jump shots taken. We set the over-under at 1. Sam, you and I went under. Max, you and the people went over.
Max, you went over on this? You thought there'd be a 3 or something?
We would count 1. If he did 1, we would count it as an over, which is what we said on the podcast, which I remember. But he didn't take 1.
Wow.
He didn't take 1.
Floaters don't count.
Be like 1 into the shot clock.
Me too.
Like heave or something.
Me too. Like he caught it in the corner and the shot clock was winding down. Like that. I still went under, but I thought there has to be 1, but there never was. He never took a single one, and we decided too during the podcast that we wouldn't count if he ever like launched it from half court or something like that. That doesn't count. It has to be like an honest to God jump shot. But I don't think he ever even did that. They really just gave it to Royce O'Neal at the end of the clock every single time and let Royce take a half court shot, which I get because actually he was pretty good at those. But yeah, he never took a jump shot. But a pretty good season from Oso Ighodaro. This is one of those guys too that like, if I were to say that on Twitter, there would be a bunch of people in my replies calling him Aso Ighodaro or something, you know? Like, yeah. But like on the podcast, I can feel pretty confident in saying that because the type of people that would sit here and listen to this kind of podcast are probably the type that actually appreciate what Oso Ighodaro did on the season as a whole. I guess I've never really asked you, Max, how you felt about Oso other than our conversation we had just a little bit earlier. But what did you feel about his season overall?
Yeah, I think it was Sam who tweeted something like, he's just an odd player. Like, I don't mean this in a bad or a good way. It's just odd. He's almost like a Rorschach test, like he's an ink blot. You're just going to figure out what you think of him. I do like him. I think it really hurts the free throw shooting. Is just it's tough because he gets fouled by a decent amount, and it's hard. But he's very interesting. I think he'll get better too. I think he's the collection of skills that I just kind of trust guys who have the skills that he has. I thought defensively he was a lot better than I thought he'd probably ever be, which is encouraging. So yeah, I'm a fan. I still doubt he'll ever be a starting center. He's just too small. But if you could actually figure out, I know he said he was going to try, and everybody on some Twitter is begging for this, but learn how to shoot a little bit, maybe, especially from three, it would help him a lot. Future career earnings for him would go way up, just because he's just such he's such a tweener right now. But he's found a way to become a valuable player, and yeah, encouraging season from him.
I mean, the switchability aspect on defense obviously is so huge, and that's why, like, even if you feel that Oso isn't a starting center, and I agree, he needs to be half of their depth chart for center next year, right? Like, half of the minutes need to be going to Oso, because that's going to continue to be a huge way of how the Suns play defense, and it just worked and made them a top 10 defense this season, and so much of that was his ability to play guys on the perimeter. His offensive percentages are so funny this season because Oso's field goal percentage went up from rookie to sophomore year from 60 to 65, and I think a lot of that was because he became way more confident at finishing through contact and not just always opting for the floater. He still has the floater. We know he can do it, but way more opportunities for Oso to just finish through contact at the rim and like go at guys who are even bigger than him. He did a really good job of that. And then his free throw percentage fell from 58% rookie year to 45% sophomore year. And it's just like, man, that is the thing. Like, it almost neutralizes all of the improvement you had in the field goal percentage to have the confidence to be able to attack the basket, but then know that if you get fouled, you're lucky to even make one of two. It's just an impossible place to be in if you want to be a starting center in the NBA. So I think the likelihood that Oso comes into year 3 and has a jump shot, although I wouldn't mind, Mike, if we did this exact same prompt next year. If we just do it every year, I wouldn't mind. The likelihood that he actually has any sort of elbow jump shot, I just wouldn't bet on it. But he needs to be a 60% free throw shooter if he wants like more money on his next contract. Like, that's the thing. And I feel like it's not even asking for much, right? He's already a good backup center. Just shoot 60% on your free throws. And then I know in any particular game, if you're feeling it, we can play you 30 minutes if we have to, right? If whoever the starting center is getting worked over because they're not able to switch out, then we can play you more. But yeah, obviously, like, if he has any ability to space the floor whatsoever, that opens up his ability to play at the 4 next to Malawach or next to whoever, and then it becomes even more interesting.
He really juices the numbers for guys that he plays with. He makes Devin Booker better. He makes Colin Gillespie better. Oso Ighodaro does. He's a great screener. He makes really, really good decisions defensively in a way that is beyond what players in their second year usually do. He has the freedom defensively to kind of do whatever he feels necessary in any defensive possession, which is really unique for a player as young as him. Once again, like, he can on the same guy, he can play a drop depending on the screen. He can play up, he can switch, and he could really force them. He can play really high on the switch and like really force guys out to the half court line if he can, in a way that's unique for the Suns to have. And like it would be really nice if he was just a power forward sometimes, of course, like, and he just was able to play with other guys on the floor, because his ability to guard on the perimeter, I mean, he's like, at worst, he's like the second best defender on the Suns
right now.
Which is kind of a surprising thing. There's just no way we would have predicted that going into the season.
Well,
and
I think we just thought that we had better point of attack defenders on the perimeter than we actually did. And then as the season went on, it became clear that actually, like, Oso was holding up a lot of this. Also, rebounding, he's always going to be undersized at the 5, but he definitely improved his rebounding as the season went on. He definitely became way more confident in the offensive tip outs. And again, if he could ever do that at the 4, then I think that's where you talk about, oh, they have an actual size advantage now. And it's not just like Oso working as hard as he possibly can just to be like neutral on the boards against a guy who's legitimately 7 feet tall. Mm-hmm. So his defensive and rebounding came a long way.
If either he or Malawash can shoot threes and they can play together, that'd be really interesting.
It really would. Yeah, I think that's the type of thing where you kind of think a little bit more about when Jordan Ott was in Cleveland and they had Jared Allen and Evan Mobley out there at the same time, and you can kind of picture defensively what you can do in that case. And it was just the ceiling on defense would skyrocket. And yeah, it could be really interesting. Good season for him overall, and he's the type of player where it's very clear what he needs to work on. And coming into our preseason podcast that we're going to do this year with you, Max, we're going to see if there's propaganda about his jump shot or not by the time that comes, because we know like guys don't learn how to shoot without everyone talking about it. So if he's learning how to shoot, we're going to hear it from Brian Gregory, we're going to hear it from Matt Ishbia, we're going to hear it from Jordan Ott, and probably Oso Ighodaro himself, and because that's what they do when they want to encourage these guys to shoot. But I just have a feeling it's just such a reconstruction. They have to tear his whole jump shot form down and rebuild it from the bottom up in order to actually get him to be a shooter.
This is where Dwayne Rankin earns his money, though, because like those guys can talk however much they want to talk, but all it takes is Dwayne, who in the past has posted videos of Oso attempting a couple of threes out of practice. And it's like, you know, I'm not going to believe anything respectfully that anyone says about Oso's shot form. I need to see the video evidence. And even then, like, obviously, if it's in open gym, that's different to a real game setting. So it's going to take some convincing on this one.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along.
Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Now at McDonald's, a McDouble is $2.50, so you can get your gym gains on, or just get lunch for only $2.50. Get more value on the under $3 menu.
Limited time only. Prices and participation may vary. Prices may be higher for delivery.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Let's talk about Jalen Green. Which
do we have to?
I'm just going to say, I don't think I've heard your opinion on Jalen Green this season yet, Max. So I really have no idea how you feel about him. But let's start there. What do you think of Jalen Green? And then I'll go over the numbers in a sec.
Yeah, he's a tough one. I don't like his game. I'll start out saying that. And it feels a little unfair because he is like kind of he was the hero of the play-ins for us. So like he's kind of like the reason we got as far in the season as we did. Very athletic, it's really fun to watch when he's on. And he, when he's on, his shot's incredible. It's beautiful, all that. He just doesn't know really how to play on offense at all in terms of like a team game. He doesn't pass. He doesn't see the floor very well. It's just a lot of one-on-one. He just seems clueless a lot of the time. When he's not like on fire, it's ugly. And I do want to give him a little bit of grace because when he came back from injury, he clearly wasn't ready in the first 2 or 3 weeks or whatever it was. It was just awful. And it was better after that. And I think the team wasn't constructed very well for him either. So there were some issues, but overall, man, the guy just does not see the floor. And, it makes it hard to watch.
Yeah, it is a little bit. It's just, he actually was better, I think, than I thought. Like, he actually made mid-range shots this year. And actually at a really high rate. He was one of the better mid-range shooters at the volume that he shot in the NBA and was one of the best on the Suns. But I think he actually even had a slightly higher percentage than Devin Booker, who we're going to talk about next, of course.
That's crazy.
Well, close to next. And, so just thinking about him this season is just an interesting conversation. Now, we talk about his efficiency, though, because, yes, he came in and he struggled, but if you look at this season in segments, his overall efficiency didn't go up that much in the last 15 games of the season, for example. It did go up. He got better because he started hitting shots at the rim for the first time.
Yeah.
But it wasn't a dramatic increase where he was all of a sudden 58, 57% true shooting. The last 15 games, he was at 52% true shooting. So the 3 numbers we looked at for him, I should get into that. Points per game, assists per game, true shooting percentage. And all 3 of them I set at what he averaged last year. So the question was, will he be better here or worse here than last year? 22 points per game, 3.7 assists per game, and 54.7 true shooting percentage. He went under on all of those. 17.8 points per game. His assist per game went down from 3.7 to 2.8, which is his career worst. His true shooting percentage went down from 54.7 to 51.6, which is just at the usage rate that he had. I mean, I don't want to sugarcoat this. Awful.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's really bad.
We'll get to the true shooting because, that's a very valid point to me. On the per game stuff, though, the volume stuff, his play time was only at 26 minutes per game, heavily due to the injuries, working back from multiple hamstring strains. And I don't think the idea going into the season was ever going to be that Jalen would play 26 minutes per game. I think they envisioned him as a 30-plus guy. And I think that alone might have, he might have hit those points and assist benchmarks were it not for the injuries. But the efficiency is a different story.
I'll say this. Points per game, we'll start there. I went over. Sam, you went under. Everyone else, Max and you and the people also went over. So, Sam, you got that one right. For assists per game, Max, you went under. So you're the only one that got that one right. And then for the true shooting percentage, I'm the only one that got that one right. So each of us got one of these 3 right.
Wait, what did you go under on true shooting and us 2 went over? Okay.
Yeah, everyone else went over, including the people. And the fans, the people who listened, got none of those right. They were very optimistic on Jalen Green, and they were wrong about all 3 of those things. As a group, some of them were right, of course. I think the true shooting percentage was the closest of all of these as far as voting. It was 51% to 49% went over. So people were very split on that specific one. And I do think his defense, this is why I give him some credit for this season. I actually think his defense was the best I had ever seen it this season as far as effort. He still is one of the worst defenders on the team, if we're being honest. But he's not the worst, and I actually think there was a higher amount of effort I saw from him defensively than what I remember seeing from him when he played for Houston. Now, none of these numbers are correlating to defense, but the defense while he was on the floor this season, pretty good for the Suns so far this season. In fact, let me actually take a look at what that defensive rating was while he was on the floor, because I do want to give him some credit for that. Let me look here. It was bad. 121 is what it ended on the season, so that's just one of the worst on the Suns, actually. So it's hard to give him a lot of credit for that, because if it ends the season that poorly, it's really tough. Now I do think his performance in the play-in, and in some respects his performance in the playoffs, although his shooting just really disappeared in the playoffs, but it's OKC, maybe gave him a little bit of trade value. And I think the thing is, I'll say it again, watching the guys talk about the success of this season and be proud of the decisions they make, and by the guys I mean Matt Ishbia and Brian Gregory, it's tough for me to imagine they're going to trade him, but they should look. He's not a good fit with Dillon Brooks and Devin Booker, and both of those guys are better than him. So they should look.
Especially the Booker thing. Like, it's just, I'm so sick of watching Booker play with guys who just don't fit at all with him. Like, we got a little taste of Chris Paul and Devin Booker. It was perfect, exactly the kind of guy Devin Booker needs with him. And then since then, it's just been Devin Booker deferring to other scorers, and it's just not the right guy for him.
I will just push back slightly on the last thing that Mike said and say I'm not fully convinced that Dillon Brooks is better than Jalen Green, which is why I continue to go back and forth on, like, I think you need to move off of one of them. I'm not sure which one that is.
Well,
but,
you can more easily move off Dillon Brooks, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, but
he has actual real trade value right now.
That is
Probably
for sure true. That is for sure true. But if Dillon Brooks made $35 million, then would he have any value? I don't know, right? So that's a lot of what we're talking about with Jalen. He's got 2 years left on his contract. One of those is player option at 36 each year. It's tough. Like, I almost do feel like he would have some trade value if this was an expiring contract going into next year. But with it being a 2-year deal, I'm not sure. Max, is like getting off of Jalen's contract kind of, would that be a priority for you in the offseason, or is it more so let's just, make some calls and kind of feel it out?
Yeah, I wouldn't pay to get off it or anything like that. But I would probably dump him if it was just pretty much a straight salary dumper for a player who's expiring, who's not really playing.
Who's 3 inches taller.
That would, or just doesn't play at all would be fine too. Because part of the problem, I think when he plays, I think it kind of hurts the rest of the team in some ways. And again, I don't think he's like worthless. I think he's gonna have probably a long NBA career, probably as like a 6-man kind of guy. Like, he can definitely score when he's on. It's just, man, he really gunks up the works, and I think he doesn't really fit what this team's trying to do with their whole, you mentioned getting off Dillon Brooks. Like, Matt Ishbia's never going to trade Dillon Brooks. He's made that very clear because he just loves the whole, everything he brings to the team.
Try hard basketball is what we call it. Yeah.
Try hard basketball. Exactly right. And I don't know, I agree with you. Jalen Green did try on defense more than I expected, but still, he doesn't really fit that whole thing.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting, and look, I don't know how a lot of fans feel about it. There's evidence with him that you could make the case like, oh, this is the future of the team when he plays really well. Yeah. And then there's the aggregate, which is clearly not that. He's just struggles to be efficient. He doesn't pass the ball very well. He turns the ball over a lot, and he gets picked on defensively. So what does that all add up to? I think it's in the eye of the beholder a little bit for that one.
And the problem is, he's still very young, but he's also been the same guy the whole time he's been in the league, which is, like 5 years now?
Yeah, and also kind of fascinating that's just what it's been with him. And really, if you think he's been the same guy, he's actually worse this year. So that is a little bit tough to make that case. But he was coming back from injury, so the context is there. Dillon Brooks, total technical fouls on the season.
Was that really what we decided? That's very
yeah.
funny. Okay.
I said it at 17. He ended the season with 17.
Wow, Bush.
But he had more, and everyone went over. All of us.
Are you saying he had 17, but like 3 were rescinded?
Yeah, or more. I think like 4 maybe. And so everyone hit the over on that one, as far as I'm concerned. It's either we all miss it or we all hit it. So I'm saying we all hit it, as far as I'm concerned. And he was suspended for 1 game. He had 2 in the playoffs as well. He got multiple technical fouls in the playoffs. I do think it is a thing with him where he does get technical fouls that other guys wouldn't get because he's Dillon Brooks.
Yes.
And it's weird to me because if you compare that to Draymond Green, it's the opposite with Draymond Green, where Draymond Green gets like a longer leash to scream in the ref's face without getting technical fouls. And I guess that comes with the championships or whatever. But Dillon Brooks does not get that leeway in any way. He really should have had he deserved a lot of them. I'm not saying he didn't deserve, all of these. He deserved a lot of them, but the evidence is there. Like, a lot of them got rescinded as well with him. So it is one of those things where, it's a weird thing. But Dillon Brooks, I thought, I was a big fan of Dillon Brooks this season. I think he is a little bit controversial with Suns fans as far as how his season went. So I'm curious how you felt about it, Max.
Definitely overall positive. The intangible thing is real. He absolutely was the leader of the team, and there were a lot of times in crunch time where it felt like that, right? He's the one who stabilized things. It helped that he shot, for him pretty well overall. Now, the thing is with him is going to be, if he's ever kind of returns to the way he was shooting in the past or does not shoot well, the whole ISO thing is going to get old very quickly with him. But it went in enough this season to justify the rest of it, and the defense was there, the leadership. Overall, big fan.
And what do you think, Sam?
You know what I think. His ability to score in isolation is very impressive and yada yada. I mean, I like it. I wish he passed the ball a little bit more. It's hard for me because my view of Dillon Brooks is clouded a little bit by the OKC series where he scored so many points, but over and over again, I was just like, but that's the point. They want him to score the points. Yeah. They want him to be the guy taking the shots and not, Booker, who everyone knows can create for himself. So,
do you remember that guy who wrote on the Post-it note the total number of potential assists that Devin Booker had in the finals and then posted a photo of the Post-it note on Twitter?
I don't remember who that was. Do you remember who it was?
No, but I want you to do that for Dillon Brooks, Sam. Just write it on a Post-it note and then...
I think Dillon Brooks it's legitimately very impressive that he was able to go from, kind of a lower usage role in Houston and then come to Phoenix and turn it up. And score late in games when we needed him to. But my question is, if he's going to exist on a really good Suns team, not just a 45-37 Suns team, but a really good Suns team, can he be the third guy again, right? And maybe the second guy isn't Jalen Green. Maybe that's someone else who they have to go out and swap out contracts somehow. But, if he's not going to make the passes, and we know that Devin Booker is, constantly going to be at threat of the guy who's trapped, there needs to be another outlet somewhere, another creative force on the court. And I need Dillon Brooks to coexist with whoever that force is going to be and not steal all of their touches and shot attempts. And so that's just what I wonder is how malleable is Dillon Brooks, who's now in his 30s, going forward. It's not that I don't respect the hustle and the intangibles and all that. And especially, he's like a $20 million a year player, right? He's totally living up to the contract. But like Dillon Brooks was, I think he has every reason to come out really hard and say like, I want to be a Sun for life. But part of me, when I read that article, I was like,
you
slow your brakes a little bit.
You want an extension. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get that he wants the extension. It's just,
that's why he said that. It was good
I need
timing,
to see it for, I need to see it for another year.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I think as far as like total points per game, he had a lot and he played really well, but he did not have like the normal impact for a guy who has that many points per game for the offense. That's true. And Max, what were you going to say there?
Yeah, I know. I wanted to kind of reinforce something what Sam was saying. He takes too much off the table in a lot of ways. He kind of captures ceiling with that. I think he's raised the floor of the Suns quite a bit this season. But yes, going forward, if we're trying to improve and get a lot better, I think he's going to kind of limit us a bit if he keeps playing this way.
Let's talk about Devin Booker.
Mm-hmm.
Charles Barkley went on Arizona Sports Radio last week. And he said he was disappointed in Devin Booker in the playoffs. And I think the overall line on what Devin Booker should have done by a lot of people based on the analysis that was given about that series is that he should have been more aggressive. And there was a disappointment expressed by Charles Barkley that Devin Booker was not more aggressive in that series.
I've always said that Charles Barkley is a basketball genius when it comes to his analysis.
We agreed on this podcast, right, about his level of aggression. He should have shot more. He should have found ways to shoot more shots. And there were shots that he was turning down. I think the OKC defense does make it harder to get a ton of shots off for any guy, unless you're shooting bad shots. But I do think there were times where he was turning shots down, especially three-point shots in that series. But we are talking about the season as a whole, but I want to get your opinion on both, Max. His season as a whole, how he played this season, and then how you felt about the OKC playoff series.
Yeah, I think the OKC series conversation is actually a little more interesting because he clearly wasn't good. There was a lot of reasons for that. I mean, OKC made it impossible on him, and their game plan was to do that. That was the plan, as you talked about earlier. Dillon Brooks shooting a lot was by design by OKC. Still, though, we all kind of hope Devin Booker is going to be a top 10 player in the NBA. That's kind of what our team is premised on, right? And you'd like to see a top 10 player in the NBA do better than that. There should have been at least a game or two where he was nearly taking it by himself because he was just that good. Didn't happen. So, yeah, that's disappointing. And I think part of it was, he was turning down shots. He wasn't aggressive enough. But I think part of it was he just wasn't very good. He just wasn't good enough. And again, impossible situation. OKC had just the best possible team to go against the Suns in their state of injury and all that. Just a nonstop army of people to throw at Devin Booker. So pretty impossible situation, but kind of one of the reasons why you pay and you have a franchise player and a superstar is they're supposed to rise above impossible situations sometimes, right? And he really didn't do that.
Do you guys feel, actually this is a good time to have this conversation, and I do want to talk about his regular season too, but I don't think we've really dived into this enough yet. Do you feel like, and this is for both of you, but we'll start with Max, do you feel like watching what OKC is doing to the Lakers right now has any impact on how you feel about the Suns series against them? I actually had an OKC reporter message me today and said, I feel like the Suns actually pushed the Thunder further or harder than the Lakers are currently, which it's like an equal amount of they're getting killed, but just watching the games, that's how he felt. But what do you think about that?
Not to be like, oh, I'm right about everything, blah, blah, blah. I'm usually wrong. But I expected this. I thought they were going to sweep both of us.
Me too,
so
yeah.
I'm not really surprised.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. What do you think, Sam?
I mean, the Lakers just have so much less talent without Luka. It's kind of, what did you expect?
I think people underrate how good OKC is.
Same.
Like this is an all-time great team, and they're missing their second best player, and they're demolishing teams, and they have a chance to continue to sweep. Look, the Lakers might win one, but they're down 0-3, so they're going to win that series regardless. This is an all-time good team. Their defense is insane. Their offense is very, very good when Shea plays. And I just think it's really difficult to overstate just how good this team is by all of the data that we have to measure how good teams are. It says they're one of the best teams of all time. And I know that's not I'm not trying to give any excuse for how the Suns played. But I do think that people underrate just how good they are because it's kind of boring to watch. They're kind of boring to watch, truthfully. So I
think they have 10 or 11 players who would start on the Suns. It's ridiculous how deep they are.
Yeah, and they develop them really well, and they're just insanely well coached. Really, really well coached. Every guy understands the game plan to the 10th degree. And that's just a really difficult thing for any team to overcome. And we'll see.
I remember that was one of the things Oso was saying in a podcast. I don't remember which one about his
it was
experience.
Actually in their exit interviews.
Oh, it was in their exit interviews. Yeah. Sorry, of the difference between the Suns understanding their level of preparedness against OKC, that they knew their sets, but then that OKC was just every player down the line had a level of preparedness that the Suns were not ready for.
He said they called out every play. Yeah. So, and that does happen over the course of a playoff series, but it stood out to Oso, which was his first playoff series.
Fire Jordan Knott. He wasn't ready.
Yeah.
He didn't have our guys ready. No, I'm kidding.
I mean, they don't have guys like that. I'm watching AJ Mitchell and I'm like, why couldn't Jalen Green play like this?
Oh my God. How is he that good? It's so insane.
It's not even just his offense, which is insane, but his defense is crazy. He's an insanely good defender too. And it's just, they have another. He didn't even play last year. They have another guy who didn't even play last year that plays this well.
And although they didn't
Jared McCain, I'm so annoyed.
McCain,
I'm so annoyed by Jared McCain being on the team and playing really good playoff minutes. It just drives me insane.
And what's annoying is they have a lot of assets going forward, so they keep getting guys like Jared McCain. They're about to get the 12th pick in this draft. They didn't move up, but still they got the 12th pick. It's just not fair.
Yeah. But let's talk about Devin Booker's season. I set the over-under for his points and assists at what he did last year, 27.8 points and 7.1 assists. He had 26.1 points per game and 6 assists, so he went under on both. All three of us went under on points per game. The people went over. And then all three of us went over on assists per game, and so did the people. So the three that we got right were us three got the points per game right. We learned a lesson, I think, with Devin Booker because we often went over on his points, and we really learned the lesson this year that that's not always what happens. It's just not how he plays. He's very consistent in his points per game at 26 to 27 points per game over the last 7 years. It's just who he is. But we did anticipate that his assists would go up, and they actually went down, which I think is a testament to probably Colin Gillespie more than anyone else and the role that he ended up playing on the team. But I think their inability to score at the rim probably impacted that too. They just didn't have any guy they can toss the ball to score anywhere close to the rim other than Mark Williams, and Mark didn't do it at any rate that we expected him to this year. But the regular season, Devin Booker, in the most clear, you are the leader of this team role that he's ever been in. because there's no Kevin Durant, there's no Chris Paul. This is Devin Booker's team now. Now, we do have Dylan Brooks, but that's different. That's a different kind of leadership role. What did you think of Devin Booker's regular season, Max?
It was just very Devin Booker-y, right? It's kind of what he always is. And that was one of the, I guess, disappointments. And again, he played well. He was an all-star. It was all good. I don't think he had a bad season by any means, but I was really hoping going into this season that we were going to get some fun, 50-point outbursts for him, things like that. It's just not him. And I think that this season, more than anything, has taught us that if it wasn't going to be this season, it's probably never going to be who he is. He's just not that kind of player. He likes to play basketball the right way, and it is probably through the benefit of his teammates and the team performance overall, but makes it a little less fun. But yeah, overall, he had a really good season, especially I think March he was really good in. So yeah, I don't have any concerns about him. I know Nate Duncan's been all over Twitter talking about how he's declined and oh my God, holy crap, he sucks now and all this stuff. I think a lot of that's colored by the OKC series. I'm not concerned about him.
Mm-hmm. Also, I think a lot of that is colored by Nate Duncan has had the same opinion.
Yes.
The same opinion on Devin Booker for 10 years and desperately needs it to be right. Like, eventually he will be right that Devin Booker is worse.
Yeah, he works backwards from his opinion and tries to find data to validate it instead of looking at the data and coming up with an opinion. That's true. But I do think there is the case to be made that if you were to make the case in any season that he declined a little bit, there is a little bit more evidence this season than anyone before that. His 3-point shot is absolutely dog shit right now. So.
Yeah.
Devin Booker is to borrow an economic term, the perfect representation of 2026 in that he's sort of the picture of stagflation in the NBA. Like all across the league, we live in this high offense inflationary era where like guys are able to just score more and more and more and manipulate the defense in better ways. And then meanwhile, Devin Booker has just been a 26-point per game scorer for 8 seasons in a row. And that's probably just what he's always going to be. I think 2 really interesting developments happened this year for Book that worked against each other. On the one hand, he grifted. And I know this is a guy, we used to talk about him as the face of ethical hoops. Book
we still own the website.
We do. We still own ethicalhoops.com. He's kind of learned to be an effective grifter in a way that he wasn't in the past. He averaged 8 free throw attempts per game for the first time in his career. He was only at 6.5 last season, and all of a sudden he's at 8. That's a big jump for a guy who wasn't taking more shots, right? So he's getting the contact more often. I think the basketball gods may have sensed that and as retribution said you're not allowed to make pull-up 3-point jump shots anymore, right? So his free throw attempts went up, but the 3-point percentage went down. And it all sort of just worked out in the wash, and he averaged the same 26 points per game that he always does in kind of this comical way.
Defense was good, though.
There's a new nickname for Devin Booker, Mr. Stagflation.
Mr. Stagflation. There we go. I actually think Nate Duncan would be impressed with me there. I think he would like that
I
word.
agree.
Yeah, but that's actually a bad thing in that case. But yes,
I
his
know.
defense was very, very good this year. I just want to give him some credit there because I do think, every year in his career, I've said this, parroted this stat many times on this podcast, but every year in his career, except this year, the defense was worse when he was on the floor. And this year, for the first time in his career, the defense was better when he was on the floor, and he deserves some credit for that because this is a team with a lot of good defenders on it, actually, and for the defense to be better when he's on the floor than, when, say, Jordan Goodwin or somebody off the bench comes in for him is impressive, and maybe it's a Royce O'Neal stat more than anything else, but it's still a stat that benefited Devin Booker, and I'm happy to see that his defense was pretty good. And I think it mattered for a player like him when you're trying to set the culture for this team that everyone has to try hard at everything. It mattered that Devin Booker was trying hard on defense, and I think it showed some level of leadership for him to do that throughout the season. I really hope his 3-point shot is not something that's just broken forever, but it was pretty bad this year, and I think that's the type of thing where if you're not a 3-level scorer, then what are you? And I know he takes the most difficult shots on the team, but I don't want him to turn into DeMar DeRozan, I would like him to be a guy who can score at all 3 levels consistently over the course of his career. And he's his playmaking, we know what it is. 6 assists is like the floor now for him every season. And that's still impressive for a shooting guard. But, if you're not going to be 7-8 assists, you kind of need to hit threes too. And I hope that comes back next year. And we're going to talk about him. There's no chance
I will say,
we did see that.
definitely the efficiency. I mean, we've talked about this a million times. I don't necessarily think that Book needs a pure point guard next to him because those don't exist the way that they used to. But just giving him anyone who he could work off of and work off the ball a little bit and get some easier shots again. This was probably the season where he just had to create the most of his offense since 2018-19, I think you could say. Right.
What did he shoot in the Olympics last year? Like 50%, or something.
Very well, yes.
So like it is kind of proof of concept with him that when he has people that can help create space for him, he can capitalize.
If he's working off that Julius Randle gravity and could
give me Julius Randle, I want him
generate some shots. Yeah,
he's been so awesome in the playoffs. By the way, it's just one of those guys that I like him. Last one, Suns wins 32.5. This was the number set in all the gambling books. They won 45 games. Everyone went over. This is a testament to all of us knowing just how awful the situation was in that last year with Kevin Durant and really understanding that the Suns are being a little bit undervalued just because that situation was a complete disaster and a complete mess. And hey, we were all right on that one. And they went significantly over 12.5 wins more than the over-under. And this is a Jordan Ott stat too. It's a Devin Booker stat. It's a Dillon Brooks stat, but it is a Jordan Ott stat ultimately. And I think he really had them playing well on the season as a whole. You talked about it at the beginning, Max, but what do you think about 45 wins?
Yeah, you stole the words right out of my mouth. I was going to start praising Jordan Knott. I think the way the Suns, especially at the beginning of the season, came out just playing so hard, kind of took the league by surprise a little bit. So many coaches were like, wow, that team, you cannot, I think JJ Redick famously was like that, you just cannot take a night off against them at all because they will make you pay for it. And that was really refreshing to see because it was basically the opposite of what the Kevin Durant Suns were. That's probably my biggest takeaway from the season in general is the Suns were fun to watch again. They gave a shit, and they probably aren't going to win a title in the next 5 years, guys. Probably not. Hopefully, probably not. But as long as they're watchable and try really hard and compete, that's what we can hope for.
What do you think, Sam?
I definitely had a lot more fun than I did during any time in the KD Beal era, right? So mission accomplished, I guess. Now we get to spend all summer talking about how they can get better from here.
This is, I think, that when we do this recap podcast, it really feels to me like, okay, now the off season begins. You know what I mean? Like now we're really going to dive into the off season and do the kind of stuff that we do in the off season, Sam, which I enjoy.
This makes total sense that he didn't appear on your original list, but just confirming, no Rasheer Fleming prompts? We didn't come up with any?
Oh, we did have one. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention it. We had one that was who would play more games between Fleming and Brea.
Between Fleming and Brea.
That shows
No, is this where I said what I think I said?
Actually, Sam, I'll give you credit here. You went Fleming.
Okay. All right.
But it was our preseason podcast with Kellen where you said Brea had the highest potential of the three rookies.
Okay, well those are two different things. Yes. I was saying Fleming could have the immediate impact, which I think he largely did. I just wanted to bring up his name because he was low-key one of the most interesting parts of the season, was more prepared to play minutes than Kaman Malawach. And I would set the over-under for him next season at 7 additional inches added to his wingspan over the summer.
Yeah.
So we'll see how long he comes out.
Well, we did, by the way, Max, choose Kobe Brea, you and I. On that
my God.
So we really didn't know. I just didn't think either of them were going to play, and I thought Kobe Brea, as a guy who could hit a ton of threes, was going to be helpful. Turns out he wasn't very good, and maybe they would be justified in him not even being on the roster next year if they really wanted to do that. But Fleming clearly has a role in this team going forward. So before we go, Max, any thoughts on Fleming?
Yeah, so glad you brought him up. It's kind of funny how we didn't talk about him. Cause
I just accidentally skipped that one. My bad. Sorry.
Maybe the most important development of the season was kind of what he looked like at the end. I mean, man, there's some real star upside with him, in my opinion. Certainly like defensive star, like game breaker kind of stuff. I'm not totally bought in on the fadeaway. I think he had a fadeaway jumper like towards the end of the season. Like, yeah, that stuff's cool. But if he can just like knock down his threes and play, and just some of those block sequences that he had, like it really looked like, and kind of like Jonathan Isaac sort of stuff. He's not quite as big as that, but like the length is just, it takes everyone by surprise. To me, he's the most exciting rookie we've had since, I don't know, like maybe like Mikal or something like that. It's been a while. I thought he showed a lot.
Yeah, legitimately has the ability to play 3, 4, 5, I think, at the modern NBA, which is just pretty cool. You don't want to lean on the small ball stuff too hard because I know that's already a point of controversy with, the types of lineups that Jordan Knott was preferring. But the fact that Fleming is able to slot there at the 5 and space the floor is huge.
Yep.
I just want to say, Kobe
size
Bryant
fixes everything, Sam. I don't know what you're talking about.
Kobe Bryant shot 43% from deep in his rookie season.
That's crazy.
He played 12 games. He shot 13 for 30 from deep. I would just caution you on selling your stock now. I think if you're selling your stock now, you're potentially missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime.
He was really bad in the G League, which is weird.
I am a Kobe Bryant bag holder. Okay, so Devin Booker doesn't need a point guard next to him, but Kobe Bryant needs a legitimate point guard in the G League to create him better looks.
Yeah, that would be really helpful. They didn't have any passing in the G League team, so I'll give you that. Max, before we let you go, what's your main priority for the Suns this offseason? What do you think they need to do the most?
That's a good question. I think they need to figure out what the hell is happening at the center position. And they're going to have a lot more information than we have based on how those guys are developing. But that's going to be, to me, with the whole restricted free agency thing, like that's just going to be such a hard thing to figure out. Hopefully, maybe the best case scenario is all three of those guys are okay playing kind of like a center by rotation sort of situation, and they can go at it that way. But I mean, they traded 2 first-round picks for Mark Williams. Just letting him go entirely would be really kind of ugly.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the number one thing.
I agree. Well, Max, thank you so much for joining us year after year after year on this podcast. The winner this year, Sam, you and I tied with 9. We got 9 correct. We tied this year overall, so we got a tie. Yeah, the people had 8. Max, you had 6. So you were last this year. Sorry to say it, but you've won in the past, I think twice before. So this one counts in the win column for you and I, Sam. And Sam, you won last year too. So this is 2 in a row for you.
I was Kobe Bryant this year.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah.
You were Jalen Green, high volume shooter. You did your best.
We appreciate you, Max. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Fun as always.